Veritas means truth. And you might have noticed our logo. It says Veritas, the truth in information. And there's a really key word in there for us, which is information. We really believe that information is the most valuable asset that any company can have in this day and age. But we've spoken about the ransomware attacks that happened recently. When the information is gone, it can be lethal for a company. I mean, it can cost them everything, pretty much. The core of our products is data protection. So that's probably what most people know us for, backup and recovery. But we want people to start thinking differently about data protection. Because you're storing all that data, at some point, yeah, you might need it back, but what are you doing with that data or that information while you're storing it? So we can give you a lot of solutions that are going to help add value to your business and perhaps even generate revenue or save a lot of costs with the information that you're storing there, perhaps on primary storage. We've also got solutions to help you orchestrate your data migration to the cloud and the cloud adoption. So you don't necessarily need a huge team of people to do that if you use our solutions, because you can orchestrate it, you can put SLAs, and when you click the button, it automates the whole process. And we're moving away from talking about private cloud and hybrid cloud. We are talking about multi-cloud, because we know the majority of our customers and organizations use more than one cloud. Okay, so we can help you manage your information and your data between multiple clouds. We've recently announced partnerships with Google, Amazon, IBM, Cloudian, and Microsoft Azure, and quite a number of other cloud providers. So we're really playing in that space. Another area where we can help you is with long-term data retention. Why keep your data on primary storage when you're not going to access it all the time? You know, it's costing you a lot of money. We can help you orchestrate the movement of that information or that data to cheaper storage. We've got solutions for that. And then you can decide where you want to put it. Do you want to move it to the cloud? Do you want to move it to another data center, etc.? We can help you orchestrate all that. Another really important area for us is software-defined storage. So that's kind of a buzzword, but that's something that Veritas has been doing for the last 30 years. It's pretty much, you know, what we do and what we came about for. Really current as well is compliance and risk. How do you know that you are going to be compliant? It's the European equivalent of POPI. Okay, everyone's heard about POPI. And POPI, GDPR is going live next year in May. All our products already have the data classification for GDPR, and GDPR is going to be very, very similar to POPI. So we've got all the policies in place there in our products. So I'm going to focus on something now that I know Infoprotect is more passionate about, something that's really current and that I mentioned at the start. You know you're storing all your data, but you really know what you're storing. So when we became independent, one of the first things that we did is we did a lot of surveys with customers, existing customers, potential new customers, to understand really, you know, where do we need to focus on for our research and development. And we produced this report called the databerg. So if you think of an iceberg, it's an analogy that many companies use, but that's the one that we used. You only see a small portion outside the surface. You only see the tip of the iceberg. The majority is underneath, right, in the dark. So if you think of your data that you're storing as this iceberg, what we identified, and we interviewed customers here in South Africa as well, and it was very similar to the global metrics. Only about 15% of the data is above the surface, what we would call clean data that they are storing and backing up continuously. So what does that mean? They know who's using it, it's accessed on a regular basis, and there's clear policies around it. They know the value of that data, of that information. And then just below the surface, you've got what we call rot data. Redundant, obsolete, or trivial. So that's how we classify that data. Businesses are storing it, but they know that actually it's got no real relevance to their business. It might just be old pictures, MP3 files, movies, old menus from like 10 years ago, whatever. But it's there, and they don't know what to do with it, how to move it, so they're just keeping it there rather than deleting anything. And then the scary thing is that we uncovered is that about 55% on average of data that's being stored is what we call dark data. We also call it unstructured data. Okay, and the scary thing with that is that businesses don't actually know what data they're storing. It could be completely trivial, irrelevant to the business, or it could be really important data about their customers. It could be credit cards, it could be contracts, so really it's just a mess that's taking up space, and they don't know what to do with it. So we have a tool, a consulting service that we offer with Infoprotect. It's free of charge. It takes 2 to 3 days, and we can run an analysis on your servers, on your data. We produce a report that we can present back to you that will tell you when your data was last accessed, how long since it's been changed, who owns the data, what types of files. It just looks at the metadata. It doesn't go inside the data itself, but it just looks at the behavior. We call that the dark data assessment. So just to put it into a real-life context, we did one of these assessments recently on a customer's server. We found that 70% of the data on that server had not been accessed in about 3 years. 40% in the last year, and about 50% hadn't been changed in the last year. About a third of the data was owned by people that had left the company already. So, it was being kept there on primary storage, costing a lot of money, but, so once we give you that visibility, there's a lot of decisions that you can make. One, to save you money, okay, because you can perhaps move it to cheaper storage, to the cloud, wherever, or you may even decide that some stuff you might delete completely. Okay, and then the other thing is, I mentioned compliance. From a compliance perspective, you need to know where the data, where the information is being kept. So you need to start thinking about those kind of things now. Once GDPR becomes active in Europe, we don't think it's going to be very long until POPI becomes fully active here in South Africa.